All right, so now let me introduce this fellow to you. I met him back in 2006, almost 20 years ago. So I can't believe it's been that long. So we need to go for Starbucks again. We used to go downstairs. We were at the Esplanade, and we would go downstairs for Starbucks.
Go downstairs for sanity.
For sanity, yes, and they had coffee down there. So we've been knowing each other and hanging around together in and out. So he's been in the state, out of the state, but now he's here in Arizona and doing some pretty cool things with technology. So we were in technology business together, and so Larry has just been a good friend, a great mentor for me. And so Larry, I'm gonna let you take it from here. All right, so thank you.
Yep. So I'm Larry Glover. As Rick said, we've known each other for quite a while now, worked together, so we know how each other works, and we know we can count on each other, and that's always a good thing. So anything Rick's doing, I like to be part of too, because he always brings good people together. So happy to meet everybody. I've been playing around with AI for about 2.5 years now. When I kind of retired in 22, and then I had some medical problems. I fixed those. I realized I wasn't done. And AI was just really starting to take off, so I really dove deep into AI back then and have been playing around with it. And really, I'm an AI and automations guy. That's what I like to do. I like to automate any of your business processes, whether it's lead generation, email, warming up and nurturing your customer community, or doing customer service and just building that relationship with your customers. I like to build automations that support those things. So if you have any questions on that anytime, ask Rick, ask me, and I can help you out. What I'm going to do today is I spoke, I think it was in September, and I had a more formal presentation around AI automations and showed some examples. But I've found in my several talks I've had with people in the last 6 months, there's still a lot of people that are brand new to AI, and I thought today it'd be more of a general workshop approach. What I'm happy to hear is you guys have AI experience. You guys are using it, so I'm really happy to hear that. But I'm still going to start at the basics, so don't worry. And you guys will, some of you with more experience will know how this works, but what I'm going to do is I want to get more feedback from you guys and do some things online as we're sitting here and show you how easy it is to use it and how responsive it is. I'm going to start out really with the basics for a few minutes, and if I blow by them too fast, tell me and we can talk afterwards. I don't want to hold everybody back, but if you really are trying to learn and start out, there's some basic things you need to know and know how to use it to really take advantage of AI. So we'll cover some of those. First, since many people have AI experience, I'd just like to quickly give some feedback. What are you doing with AI in your marketing business? Okay.
Like go high level. I can talk about it. And so I didn't know how to use that very well. And so I went and used AI to learn how to do that. I use it for everything. Like
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah, I understand.
Once you know how to do the prompts, and you can pretty much get a lot of stuff that's stuck in your head. You know how that is, right? Right? You can get all the stuff that's stuck in your head out and there, but you gotta know how the prompts work, and that's really where I was scared. And people I was like, well, what do you do? How do you get the stuff out of it? So I started asking, what are some prompts that I need? This morning I was working on a business plan for a retreat that I'm working on. So I love it. I love it. I use it every day. And I'm so glad you're teaching something on it, because there's always more to learn.
Anybody else? Any feedback, any usage of AI? That's one thing if you're not using AI yet, but you ever have to plan something, write an email, do anything that requires you to think about a process. And if you're used to it the old way, because I'm old, you sit down and you're looking at a blank piece of paper, and it's, even if it takes you 5 minutes, you're going, well, where do I start? I don't even bother with that no more. I start with AI, I tell it what I want and what my goal is, and then I see what it tells me, and then I decide, well, that sounds good. It gives me 10 things, and I take 3 of them, let's go with that. And I talk to AI, I tell it, I like item 1, I like item 3, I like item 10. Ignore the others, but I remind it what my focus is. And when I say AI, I'm talking about whether it's Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, anything, and I'll explain what those tools are if you're not familiar. But I tell it what I like and what I don't like, and then we have a conversation. And it comes right back and tells, gives me its feedback. You were saying you're using AI as well.
I used AI to build baseball schedules. So
Yeah.
when I first locked in, we had 10 teams and they had to play home and away. And so I just said, hey, can you build me a 10-team schedule with AI? And then it built me a 10-team schedule. Then I said, well, I need home and away. So then I added home and away. So I kept building on what AI was telling me. And then I said, I needed home and away on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we did home and away on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And finally it built a schedule. But the thing I found out with AI is they don't exactly know what you want until you tell them exactly what you want.
Right.
And I think Trudy said it, when you say a little bit to it, it gives you that information. You said it too, where you can say, don't bother with number 10 or number 7 or number 6, but then you can build on it to get exactly what you want, right down to the last detail. So I just kept putting things in until I got exactly what I needed. And the chat went all the way along with me until I got a home and away schedule on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then I gave it 2 fields and I said, I need these 2 fields filled. And so it filled the 2 fields. So it was perfect.
So what he's describing is reasoning. In the old days, I'm an old geek. I used to code that stuff. And it took days, if not weeks, to, all right, I got 10 teams. I gotta have the logic. I gotta plan the math out, that I can't have them playing twice or 3 times. I've got to have a home and an away. I had to build all that logic, and you'd have to sit down with somebody in a whiteboard and really map that out. And it was like a math problem. AI models now have reasoning. Now, and before I talk about reasoning too, you also have to build queries. If you've been around long enough, you know what a query is. If you query a database and you ask it, but you have to program that query to tell it what you're looking for. With AI models, it's got reasoning. You give it the 10 teams, you give it those parameters, and it does the thinking for you in so much faster time. And that faster time, that's why AI is important, is it's freeing you up to do other things that focus on your business. AI is cool, it's a toy, it's neat if you're not using it for your business. But if you're using it for your business, now you use AI to take care of all those things in the background that a business owner has to do and focus on your customers. And that's kind of what I was talking about when I was here in September, is focus on your customers. And now I want to do more hands-on stuff and show you how you can focus on your customers, how you can do things faster and get something done. So I'm going to sit down and go through this, but I'm going to ask you for some participation, and we'll do some queries and that on here. And again, as we go through, ask questions anytime. When we get done, if we run out of time, tell me. We can sit down after this meeting. We can sit down another time, and I can help out, and Rick can help out. So one of the things around prompt writing is, and by the way, I'm going to give Rick the link to this Google Doc, and then he'll share it with everybody. So anything I got on here. So I wrote down, when I was playing around, I used ChatGPT, and I'm going to talk about the models in a minute, but I used ChatGPT this morning and said, give me some guidelines for creating an effective prompt. So it's giving, a prompt is writing the instructions about what you want. So you need to tell the AI model, and I'm going to use that generic term because there's different models, and I'll explain those. But you tell the AI model what you want. What's the goal? And it's trying to please you. So if you are general and you're not specific, it'll please you and tell you right away and give you a simple answer. Well, we all know there's nuances and depth to any answer. So you give it feedback. So you take these, there's 10 of them, and depending on the tool you're using, some of these instructions are more important and some are less important depending on the tool. But you give it the example, you're the objective. You tell it the content requirements. Again, you'll get this. Tell it the tone and voice. If it's just you, if you are the only one using the output, you don't have to worry about tone and voice as much. But you can use this if you're writing anything that's going to be customer facing. tell it the tone. You want a formal tone? You want a friendly tone? You can even tell it, I want the humor of Robin Williams and the personality of Robin Williams. You tell it all these things. And it's amazing what they'll come back with. Because these AI models have all been trained with all the data out on the internet for the past 50 years. And the internet has been around a long time. All these books, Google has taken, and everybody used it, OpenAI, who has ChatGPT, they used the Google, can't think of what that project was, but the Open Library project. Google did this Open Library about 15, 20 years ago, where they took all the books from the last 200 years. And all the AI models have been trained off that. So it really, the depth of knowledge these AI models have is extensive. I'm not gonna go into how it knows this stuff and how it mechanically does it, but even that, if you have any technical skills, it's pretty cool, the geeky way that tokens are created and the way it manages all that data that it's using. And I say it like that because one day you're gonna have a huge capability AI model, you already do, on your phone. You know, all of this stuff will be on your phone. Access to that data will also be on your phone. Doesn't mean the data will be, but access to it. So it'll be able to go out to the internet and pull this data in and do everything. This is, I just got this Friday, the iPhone 16, and it's got the Siri AI tool on it. And the newer one, I guess 17 is going to be even more capable. So anyway, going back to writing your prompt, give it the tone and the voice. You want to tell it how you want the feedback. You tell it that I need to create this in, anybody do any writing and understand either Markdown or HTML? You can tell it, I need it in HTML format. I need it in a Markdown format. And it's going to create it. It's going to put it there. It will work best if you give it the context and the background. Why do you want this? What's the scenario that you're sitting down and writing this prompt for? What's the business scenario that you're doing? Give it that information because it will all influence what it's going to give it back to you as. If you have examples, for example, I had to write a eulogy recently. I used, and I've done it in the past, and I had a couple eulogies I'd written, and I uploaded those as examples. It came, and I didn't sit down this time and just blank paper write it. I said, here's my friend, here's my eulogies I wrote in the past, give me something. Man, in 30 seconds, I had a beautiful sample. Now, that doesn't mean you take that and you read it back. What you do is you take it and you go, oh, I do need to, I remember that time we all, well, the guys went fishing, and I insert that story there. But it's beautiful at setting up if you're storytellers, there's a way to tell a story. You can tell it, here's the storytelling framework. It's an example we're going to use in a minute. But you tell it the framework you want it, and it'll put it out there, you know? And then I just replaced the stories that AI made up. AI does hallucinate, and I just replaced it with my stories, the relevant ones, and I was able to write that eulogy a lot faster than what I would have had I just done it with a blank piece of paper. And if you think that's less personal, well, we all use examples. We've all seen, when we start writing things, we get examples from what other people have written. That's all I was using that as an example. Then I replaced it with my real stories, made it more personal. Nobody could tell it was AI. I couldn't even tell it was AI. That was all done. You can tell it, and AI does, there is a cost to using AI. Now, it's portions of pennies in most cases, but if you want it, and one of the examples I'm going to show you is a research project I did with it that I believe the first time I ran it cost me 13 cents. And you're going to see it's a pretty in-depth research tool. And it used several AI models. It was a long agent. But typically, what you do if you're using is ChatGPT and Perplexity and Claude are the ones I use mainly. There's plenty of others. Each of those are $20 a month. And I've never been charged more than that $20 a month, because what they do is they take that $20, and every time you run an AI model, you run a query, it's going to go against your balance. A query usually takes half a cent. I don't even know if it's half a cent, because you'll see when I pull the screens up, I have a lot of them out there. I've never been over my limit. I use another tool called Mind Studio, which is an agent builder. and I use it to build large AI automations. And I used it to do that deep research one I'm going to show you. And like I said, I think it cost me 13 cents to run it today. So there is a cost, but it's getting even cheaper every day. At one point you want to do is you tell it how long of a document or an output you want, and it'll follow those instructions for the most part. Again, use case, why you're using it. If there's anything you don't want, you tell it, and then you just run it. And if you don't like the output, modify it, run it again. So I had ChatGPT tell me, I want to create a customer avatar, your ideal customer. What does your ideal customer look like? And so I said, give me a model. And so this is the model that it took. Create a detailed customer avatar for a local landscaping business in Avondale, Arizona. Target audience is homeowners, their ages, that are looking for affordable and reliable lawn care services. Include the following. And that's what I asked it. And here is, I think the one. Oh no, this is one I did second. This is one the realtors might be interested in. So what I told it was, I'm a realtor in Phoenix, Arizona. I focus on first-time home buyers and young couples to help them understand the process, educate them throughout the buying process. My clients are usually unaware of all the steps involved in buying a home, and I like to walk them through the process. I show them that it's a tried and true process that I've done hundreds of times, and that it does not have to be stressful. I'd like the couples to be young professionals with plans to begin building a family, or maybe they've just begun to build a family. So here's what it gave me, the demographics: young professional, first-time home buyers, their ages, gender, psychographics, this is how they live, busy professionals who value convenience. Probably not. Can you see a little better?
Yeah, that, whatever, you just go back one.
Right there?
Yes.
I will, and let's see, this is the realtor one. What I'm going to do is copy and paste these into that Google Doc, and so you'll have them. I should ask, I know the marketing people understand. Does everybody understand what a customer avatar is and why you need one? So,
I'm sorry, I don't know what an avatar is.
oh, it's a profile of your ideal customer.
So just a profile of your ideal customer, they call it an avatar?
If you want to get marketing
So it's
tech.
a customer profile.
It's what you do, and what it'll help you with when you're creating marketing content is you might have 3 or 4 different segments of customers you work with. Younger couples, older couples, new families, single people looking for a condo. I'm using the real estate example. If you define those, then you can find out where they are. You can go to their Facebook communities that they might be at and build marketing ads for that. You can take it farther. You can name them. And a lot of people, when you're writing marketing content, you want to talk about Joe and Susie, the young couple that's building a family and buying a house. If you target Joe and Susie when you write your content, it's a little more personal for you. You know, it's not just a random blank profile. You know, it helps you write content that makes you relate better to the customer.
Can I also add that when you're now networking, if you use your avatar to build your commercials, you'll also get more referrals.
It's not the focus here, but it's something that AI will create an avatar for you. If you give it the type of person, you can even tell it, who are my best customers? You know who they are. Describe them to the AI model. It'll come back and tell you then what your avatar is. And again, it'll help you target your ads where they are. You can find them. Because you can say, what I typically do is, if I'm doing something like that, is if I know who my avatar is, then I go to Perplexity, and Perplexity tells me, these guys are in, here's a Facebook group that you could find in Phoenix, Arizona, that person would be at. And now you can build a Facebook ad targeted at that group. Sure, there's so many things you need to know. I am, but I'm going to do it now because if it helps. So there's multiple AI models. They're called LLMs to get technical, large language models. What they do, what they all have in common is that they're written programs that are written by these different companies to take all this information out on the internet, process it, and now it's a big brain. You know, it has access to all this information. ChatGPT was the first big common one. Everybody heard about it. Now it's like every 2 weeks, a new one comes out. And you can't get wrapped up in all the new ones. What's best is ChatGPT is great for research. And to be honest, there's better research, and I'm using some of them, but it's my go-to, mainly because I've been using it the longest. But then Perplexity, well, let me back up. So ChatGPT, despite it being great, you might have heard this story about 18 months ago, 24 months ago. ChatGPT, I mentioned, it hallucinates. All AI models will hallucinate. And what that means is it makes shit up that thinks it's trying to make you happy. Its goal is to make you happy, is to give you what you've asked for.
Being married, right?
More like, I won't go there.
So this jacket doesn't make me look fat?
But what it will do, and they're getting better at hallucinations. ChatGPT and all these others, they're much better at it. But about 2 years ago, there's this law firm that jumped into AI, went to court, and it wanted all this case law to support its position, whatever position they were taking. They did not realize that AI would hallucinate, and they came in with a stack of case law. I'm not an attorney, so I don't know all the terms, but they came in with a stack of case law that they tried to support their position. Turned out 80% of that case law was hallucinated. It wasn't real. So they obviously lost their case, got tossed out of court, and they got fined. And so now there is, and in the last couple of years, been a very major effort by law firms trying to make sure AI doesn't hallucinate. Ways you get around it, just that one of the quick solutions is you can train AI. So what they've done is, again, if you're in law, Westlaw is a big database. They fed that into the AI model. And in the past, when AI was created, I said it went out to the internet, pulled all this stuff in. Well, Westlaw is private, it's proprietary. So it didn't have access to that. So an easy way to solve it is they fed Westlaw into the AI model. Now it goes and bounces against Westlaw. And in what it would take dozens of hours for interns and new lawyers to search through this database, AI will give it to you super fast.
3 hours then?
I'm sure they do. Yes, sir.
Just in 30 seconds.
With the ability to train it, does it become licensable to your particular network? For example, with me being an educator, if I'm feeding it tons of the state of Michigan or the state of Arizona's policies, procedures, and everything, anytime I need to go to it, is it account-based or do it requires a set of fees for it to go in the memory foam, so to speak?
It's a nuanced answer, but yes. So that's a good question because anything you put on an open AI model, not OpenAI, ChatGPT, any AI model that you're using openly on the internet, it is taking your data and putting it in its brain. It's open. So it's going to have access to it. So if you have something that's proprietary, private, health related, don't put it on there. Don't let your AI tool have access to it. Now, having said that, in the last year, what a lot of these AI companies have done is you can buy ChatGPT for yourself. And it's honestly not that expensive. It's, last I saw it was $30,000, $40,000. Now, it's a lot for each of us individually, but now imagine what you're doing if you are a big law firm. Now that AI model sits on their server. It's not open to the internet. So now they can put their own case law in, Westlaw, anything they want, anything they do with it, it's all private. It's within their network. So just be aware that if you're doing anything, don't put secrets you don't want anybody to know. It's not like, I'm not a conspiracy guy that thinks everybody's gonna go out and hunt for my secrets, but you gotta realize it's the internet.
The other thing I've noticed about AI is that when I use it quite a bit, it knows I'm using it. It knows it's me. And so the questions I now ask it are tailored to me and not the general population. So I have to go back and ask it to look at the general population and not say, hey, stop answering the question you think I want to be answered. Start answering the question it should be answered.
Do you clear your cookies when you're done?
Yeah, so I've learned to do that, yes. Totally clear my cookies.
But it's not in cookies. It's in the LLM. It's
Yeah.
back there. It knows you.
Yeah.
So you can take, and I've done it several times with ChatGPT, But you can sit down with ChatGPT after you've used it long enough, and long enough could be 20, 30, 50 queries, but it's got my history for 2 years now. But I can ask it, who am I? What do you think of me? And it'll come back and it'll tell you, it knows everything I've asked it. It's got that history, and it tells you, I did it here about 3 or 4 months ago with my daughter, and it tells me, these are the kind of questions you ask. You're passionate about this. Give me you can tell it, give me my strengths and weaknesses if I'm trying to be a consultant. And it tells you. And it's subjective as far as I can tell. And it's interesting though what it learns about you. But again, so this is that avatar, and it goes through the lifestyle, beliefs and goals and values. Now, what you can do is you read this, and if you agree with it, you save it. This is one of your customer avatars. This is one of the things you want to consider when you're building marketing content. Now, then, when you sit down and build marketing content, now you say, sorry, I don't talk and type well, so I'll type it and then tell you. Read along. Give me this feedback, please. Oh. So roughly, I'm just saying, write me a Facebook ad and make sure you give me a good call to action. So it comes back, and you see how quick it is. You take this, now you have a draft. You don't have to start from scratch. What am I going to write? What am I going to say? It gives you it. And here's the why work with me. Let's chat. And then it usually always tells you this. Here's why this ad works. And it gives you the feedback. So quickly you can get something instead of several years ago, I got to write a Facebook ad. I just park out 3 or 4 hours. Now, honestly, in a minute, I got a draft. Probably take it another 20 minutes to tweak it and put it together. And then I got a Facebook ad in 30 minutes. So that's how fast. Anybody. This is ChatGPT, and I'm using, this is the 4.0, I believe, is my default.
Okay, because they have a model like for coding, they have a model
Exactly.
for research, they have, multiple models.
And that's good because you reminded me one of the points of this. This is also a custom GPT. So what has been nice about 1.5 years ago, ChatGPT, you used to have to write out every query you're going to do, every AI you're going to run, and you had to give it I told you the perfect prompt. You had to give it all the feedback. Well, now you can create a custom GPT. Let's just say you want to call it, and I was using a custom GPT for an avatar creator. You train it, you tell it all the things you think are important for a customer avatar and the things that it should consider. You publish that, and then when you come in and you run it again, your query doesn't have to be as detailed. The beautiful thing about ChatGPT and their OpenAI community is you go to these GPTs, what's a problem anybody has? Somebody just tell me what you want. More customers. What industry? The auto repair business, right? Let's see if there's an auto repair custom GPT. One thing I will tell you, I'll show you in a second. So this is the custom GPT, and I just searched for auto repair. It will, because I've done this. My brother-in-law fixes Harleys. At a Harley, I said, you need to repair the brakes on a 2015 Harley Electric Light. What do I do? ChatGPT had its own Chilton magazine, and it does. It gave me everything. My brother-in-law's like, well, sure, that's easy because it told you the steps, and they're all logical and everything you do. But what size wrench do I need? It told me what size wrench I needed. And he couldn't argue with it. When we sat down one night over beers and margaritas, trying to trick ChatGPT, and I used Claude as well, it had all the answers. So in the way the auto industry is going to use, and I do know that there are some doing this already, I don't remember the name of the companies, but you got a 2012 Nissan Sentra you've got to fix, but you don't have the manuals anymore. You call some companies, right? And the mechanic gets on the phone and says, do this, and here's how much to charge. It's got all that now. That's what they're using now, is they have their own. AI has also been developed where it'll talk to you. You can, talk to it audio with your own voice. It'll come back with a voice and speak to you. So they're using that. So let's see. All of these are basically auto repair guides, but let's try this one. Something, got a topic? Great. What? I'll use that example and see how quick it is. And now the instructions, you can tell me how accurate it is. I haven't touched brakes for years. Well, it's going. And now what you do is you take this back to your mechanic and say, what do you think of this? How accurate is this? You know, because if you're paying hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars a month to your service advisory business, can you get it this way? If you seriously had, and I'm not saying you would do it today, but if you had all of those repair manuals in PDF form, you could train it. What you do to train it is you just go to this plus sign and it says upload files and more. So what I've done for realtors in the past is I had the MLS sheet with a crappy description of the house, but it was sufficient. But all the details. And I said, write me an ad that makes this house sound like a perfect home for a first-time home buyer. And in seconds, it cranks it out and gives me that. And then I need to, does anybody use Canva? Canva is a great graphics tool that you can use. It has AI features, but it's really an online graphic tool. Create your AI content, paste it into Canva. Now you got a beautiful ad. You got a flyer that you can leave behind. So anyway.
So are there any laws as far as if we're publishing something that we've used, or will it keep you out of trouble?
There's,
Plagiarism?
well, plagiarism's different. So the legal question around AI right now is, I believe, I'm not an attorney, their position right now is if it's created with AI, it is not copyrightable. So
You create it, it's copyrighted to you.
if you tweak it, if it comes straight from AI, it's not copyrighted yet. If you take it and your intent, you change it, now it's copyrightable to you. But if you take it straight from AI, it's not going to be copyrightable, is what I've been told. You've got to make a change to it. Yes, sir.
So as secondary English instructor, instructional coach, the University of Michigan AI program stated that plagiarism is in full effect on any documents that you go to ChatGPT. I need a 500-word essay on the dystopian period, and then it populates it, you copy and paste it. Because AI pulls from so many different sources, you don't know what clause is being pulled from what particular
Resources.
if you say get resources that cite the sources, then of course you ride the green light all the time. But if you're not citing the sources from it and you don't make those changes to it, it's highly unlikely at this point that you will be hit with a plagiarism charge. But if you're using it on inside of an educational institution, we have so many tricks now that we're tracking and catching and flunking kids.
So you can take AI content, but you've got to repurpose it to you. You've got to put your brand on it, your voice to it. Then it's yours. But one thing to be careful of in the educational environment, for example, there's so many plagiarism tools and AI tools now that they just run it, and it's a 75%, it'll give you a score of the ones I've used. There's a 75% probability this is AI generated. There's a 97% probability it's AI generated. They're not all accurate. Exactly. That's what my problem is. I worked in consulting, the big firm consulting a long time. I write very formal, and it looks like AI crap when I'm not. It's good, but I just write that way. I usually have to always write and then edit it and put it into a more informal voice. But all my formal stuff sounds like it's coming from AI. And AI will also look for certain phrases and words. I use some of those phrases and words sometimes. And so
Weird words that like delve and.
so that's the thing. If any of us go back to school and we use AI to generate our stuff, we will find ourselves in the position of arguing that it is AI or not AI, and know that your kids are doing that too. So I didn't get to finish this. I started talking about ChatGPT, one of the models. I also use Claude. ChatGPT is great for research and it does okay at writing. I use Claude for my final draft of anything. Now, CLAUDE, it's by Anthropic is the company, ANTHROPIC. I have, but what I find is there's 5 or 6 I use. I'm old, I don't like to try 20 different ones anymore. I do try them, but then I usually go back to my standard ones. But Claude does a really good job of writing final content. Now, I will still write that last version, but if I get something, let's say I'm writing a article, I might end up with 3 different files, 3 different pieces of an article that I want to include in my final version. I'll take all 3 of those. I probably got them from Perplexity or ChatGPT. I'll plug them into ChatGPT and say, write me an article. Then I take it and I read it, I edit it, then I plug it into Claude and I say, give me a final version. And it does a lot better job. Everybody's got a preference. And the other one I mentioned, Perplexity. Now ChatGPT and Claude will give you sources also. But Perplexity got famous by, it would not hallucinate. It would actually, anything it told you, you'd check the footnotes and the sources were there and you could go back and check those footnotes and make sure that you agreed to the sources it used. So that's how it got really good. I now use Perplexity for internet search. I don't hardly use Google search anymore. I use Perplexity to search things because it gives me an answer. Typically, unless I'm searching for businesses near me or certain geographical places, I'll use Google Maps. But then if I have a question, I go to Perplexity, I ask it, and it explains it to me. And Google does now too. So they're all adapting and they're all getting better. But I use Perplexity. I find out what it is, it tells me what I'm looking for, and it gives me sources. And so I know I have a little more confidence in what it's given me.
So how do you know whether it's hallucinating or just telling you what things you want to hear versus what's real? Is there a way to
Well, that's why I use Perplexity. And I go and look at the sources that it's pulling from.
But how do you know they're not pulling bogus?
Oh, you go to it. You can actually click on it. It's a live link, and it takes you to the article that it sourced it from.
Okay.
Yeah, the resource it gives you, they're clickable.
So ChatGPT does that now if you use a search.
Exactly.
I mean, ChatGPT used to be self-contained and
Yeah.
it was always 2
Yep.
years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can use the search function.
Yep, they're all improving, and like I said, it's just find a tool that works. And then finally, so I mentioned ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude. Poe is a product that actually uses all of those. So you got to pay $20 a month for ChatGPT, for Claude, for Perplexity, so that's $60 a month. I think Poe is less than $20, but it's got access to all of these, because when they first came out, there were some filters it had on it. I don't think those filters are in existence as much anymore, but like I said, I'm old. I get used to doing certain things. So I got my tools. Yeah. And Midjourney, does images, and I didn't even talk about that. Midjourney and Dolly is in ChatGPT now, and these are all changing. It's the thing, as we've all been using for computers the last 20, 30 years, we're used to every 2 or 3 years there's a change coming out. Then every year. My God, now it's every week. Don't focus and don't get distracted by all those different changes. Find the reason you use AI, get used to using a tool and writing prompts, and stick with it. Then once in a while, read those articles and find out that, oh wow, GPT's got, I now is better than 4.0. Okay, play with it and see if you like it. The nice thing about Poe and another product that I use called Mind Studio is what I will do, and I do this not just to test the tools, but I have a prompt and I will put it into Claude, ChatGPT, and Perplexity, and then compare the output. And if you want, you can take all 3 of those, I paste them into Word, I take the Claude output, I take the Perplexity, I have 3 articles now, 3 Word documents, I upload them to Claude, and I say, give me a summary, write me an article. And that's training it with those documents, and then I got one version that has everything in it. And it's at that point where I say, write it like, Williams, put it in, give me some stories, give me some heartbreaking story, and give it some tone. And it does it all. And again, you do that in 5 minutes versus all day or all week. If you have any questions on Poe, I like it. I just figure I don't use it as much anymore because I'm more hard-headed and I go into my tools. But anybody starting out, I'd probably start out with Poe. So let's see. Talked about that, and we're running out of time. So this is an important one I wanted to show you. So it's a more fun use of AI, but there are valuable lessons in it. So this significant objects project, these guys back, I confirmed the dates and that because I wanted to make sure it wasn't an urban legend. But these guys took out to eBay and the marketplaces, and they bought 200 thrift store items with an average cost of $1.25. So they just bought these things. They had images of them, and they bought them. What they did though, is they were trying to prove the power of story. I don't know if you've heard, but if you're in marketing, storytelling sells. That's what people buy is the story, not as much as the product. So they went out and they hired a bunch of people to write stories about each of these items. They used the same photo, and then they put it back out on the marketplaces with their story, and they sold it. They made $8,000. So they took $200, turned it into $8,000. And they did that with the power of story. And my example here is, so there is a custom GPT, the Flipper Assistant. And what I did is, let's see, marketplace. I was just looking at this. So if you take this, you copy the image and you put it into Flipper, you can search for this out there. And Flipper comes back and tells you this is a Jeep Wrangler. It does as much analysis as it can. So now you go back and you say, okay, see that this Jeep is for sale for $8,600. It's got 160,000 miles on it. So now tell it that.
Sorry, could you say that again?
No. New watch too. I don't understand these Apple Watches yet. So here's what it's telling me. So this Jeep is for sale for $8,600. If you wanted to flip it, it's telling you that, well, average value is 10.9, and it gives you the ranges and it goes out and finds similar vehicles. The example here is that if you were a flipper, because I know I was talking to some people a couple of weeks ago that they've been doing this all the time. They buy stuff at dollar store and sell it for $20 or stuff off Walmart, and they put it on eBay. And I don't know if you knew that, but there's a lot of money in that. There's a lot of people doing that. What you would do is you wouldn't have to go buy 80 products. You could instead put 80 products in this, have it come back and say 24 of those 80 products have value. Well, look at the time it saved you. You can find out which ones I should go out and look at and maybe haggle with and buy, but you don't have to go buy 80 things, you go buy 20 things. So it's saving you time. Let's see, what was the other? Realtors would be interested in this. I'm jumping along because I'm trying to save time, but I mentioned I use this product called Mind Studio. What Mind Studio does is it's an agent builder. When you do a custom GPT, that's what I call a bot. It's a one and done. And when you're writing AI chats, it's best to keep it one purpose. You like what I was explaining and doing the flipping thing, you got one purpose bot, it told you its value. Now I take it and I want to write a story. So now I take that product, I put it into another bot, and I tell it to write a story. The value there is you can use the tools for whatever they are best do. Like I said, if one is best at writing, one is best at storytelling, one is best at mathematical analysis, you use each one. With Mind Studio, you string those together. So now you have an agent that will do 2 steps to 50 steps, but you tie them all together. And this is where you can really automate your business processes. So for example, you're using Go High Level, I think you said. I do as well.
I use that, and then there's another one that's through one of the marketing companies that we do that is, it's just, and it's so confusing.
Yeah. Well, what you can do with AI automations is if you've got a lead come in from your website or from a Facebook ad or whatever, you can build an automation that once you get that email address, or their phone number, you can then set them up in an email nurturing campaign. They just asked a question, but now they're in your email list. So every week, every month, every regular period, whatever you want to set up, you have emails that will tell them you were interested in this house. This house is sold, but we have another one just like it. You can automate all that. You can actually build an agent that says, when this house is sold, tell everybody that showed interest in it that you have this house as an option. You can automate this, so you just build the automation once. It's going to take you an hour or two to build it, and it really won't take you more than an hour or two. But now it runs in the background every time you have it. You can have a database of a listing. When I say database, I'm talking an Excel spreadsheet. You can have a list of all your houses for sale. This house is now sold. You could automatically trigger an email to the 20 people that were interested in that house that this house is sold, but here's another house that you should consider. Would you like to set up an appointment? And all that stuff happens automatically. You didn't have to do anything. So what I did, going back to my story, is I said, let's see, this is the prompt I gave it, I believe. Yeah. One of the things I'm always confused about living in Phoenix is where do we get our water? And everybody tells me, we got water, don't worry about it. And you build a housing development, you're supposed to have a 100-year water plan, right? I can't believe we're in the desert and we got a 100-year water plan. So I said, I went out to Mind Studio, one of their deep researchers, and I said, I want to gain confidence in long-term viability of living in Phoenix with a sustainable water supply. I gave it this, parameters, and I said, tell me how I can have confidence in this. Now, if I'm a realtor and I got people moving in from Ohio or Tennessee or wherever where water is plentiful, I could create a lead magnet, a white paper, whatever you want to create, and this is what it created in about 12 minutes. And it cost me 30 cents to create this. So this is a very detailed Phoenix Waters, pictures. It's got about the growth, tells you all the legal. What I learned here, I didn't know that actually as big as Phoenix is, we use less water now than we did in 1985 when I first moved here. So it's pretty amazing. And when you say, where's the resources? So when it goes through there, it gives you all this information. And now here's all my sources. And this weekend I clicked on all of them. I used Mind Studio, and Mind Studio is an agent builder. But what it does is it uses all these AI tools to do research. And if you want something like this is what I build for people. But I'm not trying to sell my services, but we're all business people. But yeah, do these things. You can tell it whatever topic you want. And what it's doing with this agent is it's setting it up for AI to do the deep research on it. So if you want to research anything, the efficacy of certain medicines, it'll put the resources out there. So it'll give you all this stuff. That means I know somebody was talking to me. I get hesitant about helping people in the medical industry only because of HIPAA and things like that. But if they had a problem with gout, you could tell it to give you, all the research on gout. And now when that patient comes in next week, you got a report for him to read. If you were a physician or a healthcare provider that had commonalities of their patients, I'd be having 20 white papers out there about all of this and educating them. Doctors don't educate us no more, so that's a different issue. But how you can use it. That's another use of AI. Geez, I'm sorry, I feel like I jumped through all of these. Oh, this was anybody here that the printer yet? No, last time I saw somebody who's a printer. You have a printer. Okay, I was thinking of you when I did this one. And if I'm going too late, I apologize, but what I did was, let's see if I found it. I want to find my story. Here it is. So what I did was I said on another page, let's see if I can find it. So what I told it this. I said, I have a printing business, and we focus on printing large signs and outdoor products for local businesses. And I said, I'm presenting the Chamber of Commerce group, and I want to introduce them on the benefits of prominent outdoor signage. You can read the rest. So I said, give me some slides I can use. So it created a set of slides. I did 2 of them. This one, so here's the outline for the presentation. Introducing it, benefits, types of outdoor signs, and so on. Now go back to what I was saying about story sells. So I said, if you wanted to have a story to your customers, a testimonial, again, this is a hallucinated story, but the conditions are real. You could take this and apply it to a customer that you've had. But I said, give me a story about how a local wine shop improved their business by improving their signage visible from the roadside as they were hidden in the back of a large strip mall. Probably a use case you run into a lot. So here's the story that I gave. And I did this in seconds. What you can do is, when you talk about storytelling, there's several frameworks. There's the hero's journey. There's just several frameworks you can use that talk about all movies basically follow a standard storyline. Starts out with a problem, it's insurmountable, they think they fix it, but they didn't. But this storyline follows almost all movies. They say Die Hard and Star Wars are the perfect examples of storytelling. So you could change this and say, you could add more information, say, follow the hero's journey in this story and give it a name, give it whatever input you wanted. And here the story is, I won't bore you with reading it, but I'll send it to you. And it says, the hidden vineyard, how a sign changed everything. And then the sign that stood out, the impact, it's now a community staple. You can give it length, you can give it things you want to highlight. If you had a certain sign you were selling, a Zigzag 101, I don't know, you could tell it that. You could also upload the physical dimensions and information about that sign, and it would highlight that in the story. You could tell it when it was important. But now you could have something like this in a matter of minutes instead of paying somebody to do it or sitting with a blank piece of paper and trying to figure out how to do it. So exactly. And imagine if you gave her a good story that you wanted to focus. Now she could build a sign that really fit that. You could also take this, and now I'm just brainstorming, but you could go sit down with your customer, Mary at the wine stable, and you could say, give me your information. What do you do? How long you've been here? All these things. Now give me a story. You could train it with what the story was. Give it back. Now you can go back to Mary and say, does this kind of describe your business? Imagine if they saw that and, wow, you know me. You really get me. Now you're not going to get the sign. You're going to get the other signs they have and the flyers and all their marketing stuff, all their print material. So it's how you can build a relationship with your customers. So I think I hit every topic briefly, but I'm open to talk about anything else. Anybody has any questions or anything I can help with? Yep, Mind Studio is, the version I have is $50 a month, but it allows me to do anything with it. One person. They charge, most of these tools charge by the number of users. And so I'm just a single user on Mind Studio, but it's a pretty cool tool. So what it does is it tracks my usage. You have you're paying for the workspace. It's just, there's so many, it accesses all of the AI tools. So again, I could start out with, in one automated process, and start out with ChatGPT, flip that to Perplexity. I could take some input then. I could send an email out of there, get a response back, and then put that into the next step. And all this stuff would be automated. Now, it's not as user-friendly as ChatGPT and some of these others, but it's not bad. I'm sorry? I think I use it, I pay for a monthly subscription, but you can charge, I think it's free for 2 weeks or maybe 30 days. I'm not positive. But if you want to look into it, let me know and I can see if I can get because I think it's an affiliate sale, but I think with an affiliate sale, I think you can get 30 days use instead of just 14 days for free.
And you can build bots through this.
And the thing is, it's gotten so much better at it. You can hire me to do it. Sure, I was trying to avoid that.
ChatGPT told me what to do in the lead connector.
Well, you use Go High Level, and Go High Level gets you to use automations. So an automation is anything that you string 2 or 3 business actions, create an email, send it out, get a lead from your website, send them a lead magnet, put them on a nurturing list to where you email them every week. Go High Level does that. And you can use anything for that stuff. There's a custom GPT for Go High Level.
Here's my thing.
Oh, it's pretty good.
I don't know what I want it to, you know what I'm saying? I can't get it out of my head what I do next in my everyday business.
Then my suggestion is to sit down with any AI model and tell them, I've got a problem. This is the problem. How am I going to solve this? What do I need to consider? What factor? But
Can you plug that in right now and just ask it Trudy's question? Can you plug that into AI and ask it Trudy's question?
sure.
What are you looking to do, Trudy?
My business, and
Okay.
there's several of them. There's the networking automation, there's.
So I can't sit down and quickly do that, but because what we're talking about is Go High Level is an automation CRM, customer relationship management tool, and it has automations. It helps you build your email list and keep in contact with them.
If they don't want to learn how to do what you do,
Mhm.
and would rather just say, hey, what's it gonna cost me to set up an automation like Trudy and I were talking about? And then the second part of the question that I have is as far as if we're in the insurance industry,
Mhm.
we have to protect PHI.
Yeah.
So how do you protect PHI?
So from a lead generation perspective, no problem. I can generate all the leads I want. Once they become your customer, then you have to take it out of open source AI and put it behind a firewall where it's in your
So
stuff.
they put in all of their information that I need in order to do a quote.
But some of that's personal information, right? So instead, to get the lead, you would tell them, well, I can get you cheaper insurance. Give me the kind of car you have and give me, or you have a good, bad, or okay driving record. You're probably, that's the limit of the personal information you can ask now. And then, and I'm not the legal guy, but once you get that, you can decide, I want to follow that lead up. Now you bring them into the firewalled insurance system. But you're getting them in, that's going to cost you though. That's going to cost you a few $1,000s at least. But they do that stuff too. But that, you'll hear API, have you ever heard that? Your system has to have an open API, and if it does, and most systems all do now, all you do is pull the information in, you load it into the insurance system, but it's done behind the firewall. So that's not something I touch. But IT people, who do you, are you an independent agent? So you have multiple systems you're using, or do you have one insurance management system? So you would have to, you either, probably the best thing, well, what I would suggest is most likely those systems you're using have a way to upload a spreadsheet or a form, right? A CSV file, you ever hear that? So we can take that information. Well, what you can do is you could take their initial information, put it into a form, into a spreadsheet that will be put out as a CSV. Then you're going to enhance that data when you talk to them. What's the VIN? What's the driver's license? Oh, property tax. But you're going to put that information in, but you're going to put that in a spreadsheet.
It's kind of a waste of my. To me, I guess, and maybe I'm just talking aloud here, but I think Trudy sees the same thing. is If there's not a way to capture the stuff that I need.
Well, sure, but you're going to capture it when you talk to that.
To capture that?
Well, then does your system, because it's got to be behind the firewall. Now, I could create a secure form.
So what I'm looking for, I guess, for the referral base, and have capture information that would allow us to quote in an automated way, like insurance, but somehow they do it, but they have their own. So if I can have.
I overcomplicated it. You could create a secure form where you get that information, where they fill it in the form, and then it would load to your spreadsheet that you could upload to the system. You can do it. I don't need AI to do that. I would use just an automation. I just build a form that's secure and they fill it out, and then I don't need AI to load it. What you could do though is you sell 10 products, right? I'm just making the number up, but you have 10 insurance products. But you could define the characteristics of each product. Now you have a spreadsheet with each product you sell, the characteristics, the requirements. Now you've got that library of products. When you brought that form in, you could then use AI to analyze that library of products for which ones are relevant to that person. I'm saying that, there's ways to do it, but that doesn't even require AI. And the first part, we talked about a custom form. If anybody wants to know how to build their own custom GPT, talk to Rick. I'll come back and probably not on, it's gonna take us a couple hours. It really, once you know how, will take you 15 minutes at most to create a custom GPT, but the first time might take us a couple hours. But we can sit down some night and buy me some wings and we'll go through it. For a custom form, and you, depending on your system, and do you have a website? You need a website because I need somewhere to put that form and capture it. But, or we could just go high level, but it's gonna cost you $1,500. But I charge, depends on what the work is, but then it could be 1,500 to 3,000 or 4,000. But you also think about, that's one time, and now every month it's working for you.
Now you're really at the point where you want to have a conversation, not about all of these businesses, but about your business. And
Yeah.
that's where it really starts. Good. Anybody here besides me feeling head spinning?
Sorry, I can geek out, really.
We've talked about, or Larry's talked about so many things today, and so what I would recommend is that you do have that time where you get together with him and talk about your business and some specifics and get the questions answered, so you at least have some guidelines of what's my next step, where do I go from here? One of the other things, and Larry and I talked the other day about this flip up that he showed you. It's like, if you're looking for something in the evening to play with, to get used to the idea of using AI, go try that out and just see what it would be like to take it. I've got some things around the house. I'll take a picture of this, I'll send it to the AI and see what it tells me is, what's a good description for this? I want to sell this is something I found in the attic, and I want to be able to sell it online. What's it worth and what can I do with it? Just for a game. And that way you get used to using these tools in a game kind of situation as opposed to, oh my goodness, this has got to work. I'm spending thousands of dollars on this. So, hopefully, as we've gone along, you've filled this out. And it would be really helpful to get those back and appreciate that. Yeah, if you would just leave them on the table by the door as you exit. Or let's see, maybe I could, Renee, would you mind gathering those up? There's a couple. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And what did you get out of this? You came in with expectations. Were some of those fulfilled?
So the one thing I didn't get was Larry's contact info.
So Larry, what are we going to get for them in the replay with links?
Well, I'm giving you the spreadsheet, and I'll put that in there. But if you need, I'll put it up here quick. Where is that page? Here. My phone number is, I have two of them. Well, and then I also have a Phoenix number. I bounce between Phoenix and Tampa because I have grandkids. So if you want to reach me, you can call me direct, talk to Rick. Email is very fancy business name, obviously. No, my accountant did, but feel free to reach out or contact Rick and we can talk. And I like talking about this stuff. Some people talk about sports. So I like talking about businesses and business processes. So if you have any questions, you want to talk about something, just give me a call. I'm in Avondale, work from home, and I'm pretty flexible. I talk to Rick all the time late at night. So, you bet. Yeah.
And from the chamber, we want to give a special recognition of.
Thank you. Oh, or the mower. We're friends, we can be close. I was gonna say, get our good side if we have one. I don't know if we have one, but.
Yeah, let's ran out of film there.
Thank you.
All right, any specific questions? We've got 3 minutes till
What
1
does the
o'clock.
flashing green light mean?
The flashing green light, that's the microphone. All right, anything specific that you need to know before we go? So I want to thank you all for being here. Again, we meet here every Monday as a networking group. So as long as your profession isn't already covered, and you can talk to me about that if you're interested in becoming a member. One of the things is you do need to be a member of the Ahwatukee Chamber of Commerce in order to be a member of this group. But we every week pass referrals and leads back and forth amongst ourselves and help each other all the time with each other's businesses. So that's what we like to do here. fourth Monday of the month, we do something like this. So you might even have a topic or maybe a speaker that, oh, business owners in this community would really appreciate knowing about this. Let me know who that is so we can reach out to them or to you and offer an opportunity to bring your information and knowledge to the rest of the community. So with that,
One quick word.
yes.
But what I do focus on is marketing automations. And I'm keenly interested in insurance and real estate, in automating some of the processes there because I see them as very archaic or behind the firewall. So if you guys have interest in talking, I've helped you have a wellness spa? I've helped some acupuncturists in the past and other wellness spas in California and Colorado. And so I understand some of the processes. So happy to talk.